and welcome to UK Versus. Today I'm going to be talking about Star Trek Lower Decks. We've just had the visual poster drop from UVS earlier this week, and the marketing assets have dropped where we get the names of each of the characters inside the Lower Decks Challenger series. This is very, very cool. I am so hyped to see these transporter foils, and going off the now known names on the cards, and the fact that we know that the secondary characters within the decks are going to be different versions of the main characters. I have some theories as to where I can place this in the series of Lower Decks, and also what those possible alternative versions of these characters will be that come as the second characters. We have Brad Boilmer, by the book Ensign. We have Sam Rutherford, Resourceful Engineer. Beckett Mariner, Chaotic Ensign. Love that she's chaotic. And we have Devana Tendi, Eager Science Officer. For people who are not fans of the show, these guys are the lower decks of Star Trek. These guys do the grunt work, the cleaning, the maintenance, all the stuff that you don't really see. It's all inspired by one episode of, I believe it's Next Generation, which was all about the lower decks. The show is very funny and I do recommend it. And I will be going over some spoilers while I theorize as to where this is going to take place within the show based on the information that we can see on these names. Mariner and Rutherford don't give us any information here. And Mariner and Brad give us the same information, I guess. Rutherford gives us no information as to where this is based. Tendi gives us the first bit of information with that Devana Tendi, Eager Science Officer. At the beginning of the series, Tendi is a medical officer. She does not transfer into science until the end of Season 2. We can easily theorize that these decks are going to cover Season 1 and Season 2 of the show, minimum, out of the 4 seasons that are currently out. But we will not be covering Season 4. And for all the Moopsie stands out there, I'm sorry. I want Moopsie as well, but Moopsie is Season 4. And there's one key reason as to why I think we won't be covering Season 4. They're still referred to as ensigns. In Season 4, they get promoted to lieutenants. It's the whole thing. It's the whole point of the first episode of Season 4. So we're going to be covering Seasons 1, 2, and 3. That's very, very cool and perfect for trying to figure out who is going to be our alternate characters. If we go in chronological order as to where they appeared in the show, we will start with Beckett Mariner. Now, initially, I thought that these characters were going to have their superior officers as their counterparts. So it would be Beckett Mariner and her mother, who is the captain of the Cerritos. Huge spoilers. In Season 1, Episode 9, Beckett is forced into therapy to address her chaotic nature and her insubordination. At that point, Brad Boilmer has created a training program to help him get ready for an interview with the captain. So Mariner takes that and creates a kind of interactable movie in the holodeck where she can take out her frustrations and comes to terms with a lot of how much she actually loves Starfleet. And this is where I think we see her alternate character, Vindicta Vengeance personified. This is a space pirate with lackluster rules that just wants to be seen and respected by their mother, and does end with her essentially getting her ass kicked by herself, which is very, very cool. So I think that Beckett Mariner's alternate card is going to be Vindicta Vengeance personified. I think that's a great way to incorporate the evil symbol and the other symbols that may not get any love within this kind of good moral alignment. Then if we go chronologically down the series, in Season 2, Episode 2, where we're following Brad Boilmer on his new mission on the Titan, which has Will Riker from Next Generation, and it's him coming to terms with a combat ship over the exploration ship that he was on the Cerritos. And he steps up. He saves everyone in this mine. He does a great job. And unfortunately, he gets stuck in a situation where he gets teleported out. But at the same time, because of a disruption in the field, he is also still on the planet. So when he comes back to the Titan using the shuttle, he has a transporter clone, which is not a rare occurrence. It happened to Will Riker, and it's also happened to Brad. So, I think that Brad Boilmer's alternate card is going to be his transporter clone, William Boilmer, who is essentially a much more confident, capable, and assertive version of Brad. I think we're going to have Brad Boermer, who's going to be a very technical, very cool interaction card, and then we're going to have Brad Boermer, which allows the deck to also have some straightforward hitting and very smart cards. Then, if we move down here, we move to Divana Tindy. I am so hyped for Divana Tindy. Started off as a medical officer, did great work, and then because of their curiosity and their scientific mind, was transferred to the science unit at the end of season 2. But during season 2, they're sent on a mission by the chief medical officer to go retrieve a family artifact. This is where we learn a bit about Tendy's past, where we come to an Orion settlement within the episode, hear her other name. So I believe that Tendy's alternate version character will be Divana Tindy, Mistress of the Winter Constellations. That is her pirate name, that is her Orion name, that's a name she left behind. And using this Mistress of the Winter Constellation, which is a very powerful presentation of the matriarchal system of Orion, it will allow Tendy's deck to have these very powerful, very cool attacks under the Mistress of the Winter Constellation, as well as the foundations then being more technical and being more scientific. Then, lastly, within Season 3, Episode 5, we have Sam Rutherford, who throughout the series has had hints and little trinkets of his past because of his neural implant, making him a cyborg. And in Season 3, Episode 5, it comes to a head where his subconscious splits into multiple personalities, and he becomes Sam Rutherford Red. This is a more evil version of Sam, who is more morally corrupted and more ties into his past in the less Bruno Amigo sort of side. And the whole episode comes to a head with him racing against his alt ego within his own subconscious to regain control. This is the one I think is the weakest, in my opinion, of theories. I think the other ones are pretty much a lock, personally. I think the Sam Rutherford Red is the only one I can really think of, and he does have a bit of a cool design mentally, and it does lead up to a lot of cool cards of that kind of personal split. I think that's going to be very, very cool, and as much as I'd love to see this as an alternate art character, sort of like different version, it would also be a very cool shift character like we're seeing with Attack on Titan. So that is my theories as to who we're going to have as the alternate characters. Brad and William Boermer. We're going to have Sam Rutherford as the engineer and as the alternate ego. We're going to have Beckett Mariner and Vindicta Vengeance Personified, and Divana Tindy, science officer, as well as the Mistress of the Winter Constellations. Now, challenges usually come with an asset. I think I know the assets for at least 3 of these decks. The only one I'm not sure of is Brad Boermer's, because he doesn't really have anything he's attached to apart from the warp core and his Tom Paris plate. And as much as I'd love to see a Tom Paris plate, I think they're more going to go along the lines of the warp core as a terrain. Speaking of terrains, it would be criminal to not have Beckett Mariner's asset be the brig. She loves the brig. It's the only thing she says during season 1. It's, "You're going to the brig? Ha! Joke's on you. I love the brig." So that is where her asset needs to be. It's a very cool asset idea, and I think that having the brig as a terrain, which can kind of lock down your opponent as a control aspect. For Divana Tindy, it has to be Peanut Hamper. Peanut Hamper is an absolute boss of a little medical robot that we see at the end of season 1, pops up a couple more times, and just becomes more and more unhinged the more we see Peanut Hamper. I think Peanut Hamper is a great asset to complement Tindy's personality and can bring a lot to the game. Everyone who has interacted with me with Discord knows that for Sam Rutherford, it has to be Badgie. If we don't see Badgie, you thought I complained a lot when we didn't get Air on Hawks. The only other thing, during season 1, we are introduced to buffer time. That's a long-standing joke within Star Trek that when they're given a job to do and asked how long it'll take, they go, it'll take 2 hours. When actually it'll take half an hour, but they leave themselves some buffer time. And I think that is going to be a very cool action that one of these 4 decks is going to have. I think that Buffer Time will be a Brad Bulmer action because it is the Brad Bulmer rule. There's a whole cutscene at the end of that episode where they go to the future, and Brad Bulmer is remembered as the laziest man in Starfleet history. For anyone who hasn't seen Star Trek Lower Decks, I do recommend it. Let me know what you think. Do you think I'm onto something here? Do you think I'm completely wrong? If you're a fan of the Star Trek Lower Decks show, tell me how close I am, or is there anything I have missed? So yeah, let me know what you think, and I'll catch you on the next one. I'm going to try and keep up to date with theories along these kind of things, and let me know. Bye!